Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce. I am joined by the Juice Man himself. It's the first rendition of the Juice and Luce show in this 2023 season. And Juice, before we dive into tonight's Cubs game, my friend, how are you doing on this Monday evening?
Having one hell of a day, Ronald. Out here in the great city of Fort Wayne, if you want to call it a city. Working, and had to be stuck watching that managerial performance / Cub performance that I'm sure we'll dive in deeply on this show today.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. You got a busy week ahead of you. I know, as we discussed on Sunday off air. I got a busy week ahead of me. But before we get to all that, we got some Cubs baseball in this 3-game set against the Reds, and it all starts with tonight. And I'm glad Jeremiah put this in the comments right out the gate here, folks. This game was confusing because it was confusing because, we sold ourselves all offseason, Juice. Just quickly here at the top of the show. We sold ourselves all offseason about this team's going to pitch, this team's going to pitch, this team's going to pitch. Runs are going to be hard to come by. Well, when runs are able to be come by in the form of 6 runs, you would hope this team's going to win the game. And obviously they didn't. And that's where we're just going to dive right into this thing, buddy, because things looked up early, right? I mean, let's talk about it. Cody Bellinger, first Cubs hit. It's a bomb, leaves the yard, 3-run shot. Nico gets on, Dansby gets on. That 1-2 at the top of the order is still working like clockwork, my friend. How good did it feel to see that belly bomb swing right out the gate?
Yeah, you must listen to Cubs on Tap because I called out both those guys that I mentioned in the last, yesterday's show, and that was the show clip for the week or for that show, and
sure was.
Makes me look pretty stupid, but I'm going to keep calling them out if they're going to keep performing. So
Right.
There'll be a couple guys tonight that I'm sure we call, out tonight as well. But yeah, I mean, I think Jeremiah hit it on the head. This game was confusing, right? It's there were moves made by David Ross that I didn't know if that was the smartest move. There were guys who tried to bunt, but then were able to hit in the 9th. I don't know. The thing that upsets me, and you said it, you hit the nail on the head. If the Cubs score 5 runs this year, they should win almost every one of those ball games. And isn't that so
1000%.
sad?
So sad.
It's just a matter of pitching just wasn't there tonight, and it's back-to-back performances by a starter that leave you scratching your head of, is it nerves? Is it first one of the year? They still finding, their groove, but I'll say right now, I would have taken Smiley out. I would have brought in Keegan way earlier than he did. Meanwhile, I think the cops are coming to get me. I don't know if everybody could hear that, but
coming to get you for your takes, buddy.
Yeah, but no, it's just that one baffled me. This team should never give away outs via the bunt, especially with this lineup. And then at the end, I was thinking, well, Wisdom had to bunt, so he's probably getting pinch hit for. And then he was able to hit, and Mastrobuoni just ropes probably one of the hardest hit balls of the night. It's right at somebody, which that sucks. You tip your cap, but the Cubs, and I've said it before, they have a tough schedule to start. And there's 2 on the tally that I can call for right now. There's 2 that they should have won already. And I just don't want to see those add up before they have to play teams like the Dodgers. And they have to play, the Rangers coming up too. It's tough. It's going to be a tough start, and they got to keep their head above water. And these are the games you do that by.
100%. And before we dive into the Ross, because I think that's a huge overarching theme of this game, Juice. But let's talk through just kind of the ups and downs of this game, right? Because Bellinger gives the Cubs a 3-0 lead in the first. All things look dandy and fine. And then across 2 innings, 3 runs in the first, 1 in the second from the Reds. They take the lead. Then the Cubs get one back via Mancini ground out. Oh my God, he was inches away from giving the Cubs a 3-run bomb there. Instead, he grounds out, still gets a run. They tie it. And then, of all people that come through tonight, Eric Hosmer had a good night, which is weird to say and tastes like vinegar coming out of my mouth. But he makes it 6-4. And then we get to the bottom of the fifth, and the wheels fell off with 2 outs. I think that's the most heartbreaking part. Smiley nearly works his way out of the inning. The wheels fall off with 2 outs, 3-run bomb from Jason Vossler, and that's all that she wrote effectively. Even though Keegan shut down the Reds down the stretch, Cubs couldn't get anything going. They tried to get a little going in the ninth, and just unable to do it. But let's talk through some of these managerial decisions from Ross tonight, and I think that's where, again, the overarching theme of this game stands, because you have, okay, if Patrick Wisdom gets hit, right? And they examine him and they check him out, and things are going well. And all of a sudden, he's the guy bunting. And like, I know he's hitting lower in your order, but he's not the guy on this roster that should be bunting, right? Like, if anything, let Barnhart bunt in the 9 spot, or or pinch hit for him in his next at bat. If he was really, and Jeremiah poses this in the comments, he says maybe Wisdom was numb, being hit in the hand, wasn't comfortable at the time. Maybe, but like, if that's the case, like Joey said earlier, he's got Ross's back, but holy hell, these games count. These games count. And this is the time where maybe you are okay. Yes, Patrick Wisdom has been hitting the ball. We love to see it. No Patrick Wisdom slander here tonight. But if he's not fully healthy, he can sit a game. If he's back tomorrow because he feels fine again, great. That's okay. That's fine with me. But if that is potentially costing you the game because you want him to go bunt, he pops out and then they waste a bases loaded opportunity to add in a 1-run game. And then on top of it, when Smiley starts giving up hard contact, you leave him in. Like, I get it. Ross is trying to figure things out still. We've seen it before. This roster has had a lot of turnover. I'm surely still finding out what guys can and can't do. But holy shit, Juice. Like, those 2 decisions alone. Because then, like you said, he comes back up in the 9th, looks fine, gets a base hit. Hosmer follows them up with one, and then shit, if Mastrobuoni's hit is 6.5 inches higher, we're talking about maybe the Cubs being leading going into the bottom of the 9th. And then does Keegan come in and shut it down? Probably, because he looked awesome tonight. And we'll get to Keegan a little later here in the show. But buddy, I want to hear from you more on this Ross thing. Like, again, I'm with Joey here. I'm not hitting the panic button just yet. But like, those are 2 things, maybe less the Smiley thing and more the Wisdom bunting. First off, I hate bunting. Bunting is layman weak, as we would say here at On Tap Sportsnet. But like, why is he the guy bunting in that situation? Let him swing. I would rather him fly out in that scenario, because if you got men in scoring position, somebody's tagging up and scoring if he flies out. If you bunt out to the fucking infield like that, that's what happens. You waste opportunities to score runs. And in a weird game where this team scores 6 runs and you should win the ball game, like tonight was a night where you needed your bats to come through, and they overwhelmingly did. But a few things here and there cost them significantly more runs. I mean, they could have scored 10 tonight instead of just the 6 that they put on the board.
I think like these 2 managerial decisions are like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? You have Smiley getting that extra hitter. I'm fine lefty, but not after you watched the bat before and the hitter pulled like 3 with a velo over 100 down the line. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's about time. His stuff's getting flat. It's getting real flat. And then you had Keegan ready. When we were on the bleachers on Thursday, we were talking with the guys behind us. They brought up an interesting point. And it's that Ross loves to give the veterans like extra leeway,
Yes.
And I think like we watch David Ross, and sometimes that becomes so just baffling to me. And I tweeted it, like, all the managerial moves are baffling. My thought is like, why is Smiley getting the extra at bat? Is it so he can log a win? It's the first start of the series. Who cares? Pitcher wins are a joke now anyway, right? Like, I mean, nobody's looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, DeGrom won the Cy Young. He won like 11 games or 12 games that year, right? Like, he was the video game year where the Mets just couldn't score like any time that he went out there. He was in the running either way. But I mean, that kind of sets the table for David Ross being in catch-up mode. And this is not a roster that you play catch-up mode with. Like, this is – I love David Ross as manager. I really do. I think he creates – and we said this on Sunday – creates a great environment for these guys. But tonight, it really kind of came to backfire on him, which was his morals of trying to help, you know, the veteran get the win, the veteran get the extra, you know, and bridge it to Keegan. And maybe he had a plan. And that was the plan for going into that inning that, hey, I just need to get him through. And I don't want to burn the bullpen because we're coming off of a Tyone, you know, shortened start as well. I get it.
Sure.
But
sure.
There's a win sitting there too. And that's more important. You don't manage today's game for tomorrow. Figure that all out tomorrow. That's the problem. I mean, and I always go back to remember in the NLDS when Lou Piniella took out Carlos Zambrano early so that he could come back for like game 4 in 2008 or 2007 is one of those 2 years. That was like the reverse today. It was all there in front of you and managed to win the game today and figure it all out tomorrow. Because I think the pitching aspect of that just doesn't make sense. Now on to the bunting. I am also a never bunter. They should never bunt. And my thing becomes is who are you bunting for? Like if Barry Bonds is hitting behind Patrick Wisdom in this lineup and he bunts it high and it's a fly out, fine. But the problem is that at the bottom of this lineup, it's a black hole, like we've talked about. And you don't know what you're getting. And that's a problem. So the bunting time, like if there's a professional hitter hitting behind Patrick Wisdom, I get it. And I don't even like playing this guy is having a
we might have lost Juice here for a moment. Apologies for our technical difficulties live on the air here, folks. We'll get that squared away here in just a hot matter of minutes, hopefully. But no, Juice has it right. Oh, there he is. He's back. You good, buddy? You're back with us? This is the hashtag Cubs on Tap problems. And yes, just like Scott says in the comments, hashtag where's Juice? Where is Juice? We had him. We lost him. Oh, and now he's gone. He'll be back. Again, pardon our technical difficulties here, folks. Apologies for that here tonight. But Juice is right. Juice is 100% right. There's not enough in this lineup, really, at this point, behind Wisdom in the case of tonight's game to really justify him bunting. And I love what Jeremiah had to say here really quick, and we'll be bringing Juice back into the fold here in just a minute, folks. But, you know, he said Ross just said that P. Wizzy's getting an x-ray. If that was the case and they were that concerned, take him out of the game. It's 162. This is only, what, game 4? If Patrick Wisdom comes back and plays fine tomorrow, fine. But I would rather have a healthy person in at third base in this game than a uncomfortable Patrick Wisdom in that scenario to get where they were going. And he is back with us. Hi, Juice. Hi, buddy. We missed you.
The cops got me there. That was the
technical difficulties are all kinds of fun when shit doesn't want to work. But
well, like I said, it's a road game today for me too.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I'm
dealing with all the fun of away tech. But Juice, continue your point, buddy. I mean, we saw what Jeremiah said. They said that Wisdom's getting an x-ray too on the wrist. But I mean, like you said, man, there's no professional hitter behind him. Why is he bunting in that scenario? But please continue with your point.
Yeah, no, that just kind of sums up my whole idea of this game. Like it's unnecessary actions for terrible consequences. And that
Mhm.
just is kind of what happened in this game. There were some baffling managerial decisions, but I mean, at least, and props to Keegan Thompson, he deserves all the praise in the world. This could have gotten way out of hand. But what sucks is you watch how Keegan threw the ball tonight, and you think to yourself, man, like if he just comes in one batter earlier, like he probably gets out of that inning, and the Cubs probably cruise their way in this game.
Mhm.
And that's just the fact of this, and it sucks. And now my total has come to 2. There are 2 games that the Cubs should have won that they should stack because this schedule sucks, and this is one of them. And yeah, it baffling game, wasted game, as you say in your name tag here.
Yeah, absolutely. Wasted game indeed. And like Scott says here in the comments as well, he says we can't win the division in April, but you can sure lose it. And Juice, at the end of the season, you and I are going to be sitting here with our other 3 co-hosts here at Cubs on Tap, with our friends over at the Dingers podcast, which if you're joining us live and once we get done, be sure to go check out the Dingers boys as well, or bounce back and forth between us. That's totally fine as well. Go check them out and show them love as well. But we're going to be talking as a collective group, Juice, and these are probably games that are going to stand out, like this one at the beginning of the season. That Saturday game, when Steele goes 6 scoreless and they end up blowing it late. You can't have those. And I'm right there with you, man. Like this has been troubling. And while we're still on negative, before we get to a little bit of positive here, Juice, I want to bring this up because there's a comment that leads to where I'm going with this. I said it on Saturday. I said it again on Sunday. Just even to like people I know and whatever, not necessarily on this show directly. And I'm going to say it again here on Monday night. I tweeted out from the Cubs on Tap account too. And it goes along with this comment that Scott has for us. He says, Hosmer has a stay of execution, but what the fuck was that Mancini play in right field? He says hashtag where's Morel. And I know our boy Scott from Iowa is banging the AAA train. I think we're all banging the Mervis drum. So I don't think there's any questions, comments, concerns about that right there. But Juice, this team misses Seiya Suzuki. And you're seeing it right now because the play in right field in the first 4 games has been awful. Mastrobuoni's been okay at best. Like, this is the risk they ran. And Juice, you had this concern on the show weeks ago, was they're going to carry too many infielders and no true third outfielder outside of Suzuki, and he's still in the IL, on this roster, and expect them to win games. Right field at Wrigley is like the hardest fucking position to play in Wrigley Field. So why are you going to risk on a team that's supposed to be built on defense behind your pitching staff that place? Because I think ahead to that Milwaukee game that they should have won. How many blue hits were there in right field in front of Mancini in that game? A couple. That play by Mancini tonight, albeit it might not have cost him as much tonight, but that's still a play where you go, shit, that cannot accumulate over 10 and 15 games. They miss Seiya Suzuki, maybe more than I even thought they would. But he makes that lineup look a hell of a lot better on paper. He plays at least a competent right field. And, a guy like Bellinger can play just more conservatively in center and doesn't have to be, backing up Mancini on every single play. I'm really at that point right now where, again, you can't win divisions in April. But holy shit, like, is this personnel decision out the gate because you needed to carry Madrigal and Wisdom and Rios, and whatever else really worth it to sacrifice play in right field? Because if that accumulates, Juice, we're going to see a lot more games where maybe, again, these, we add them to the list type games where maybe the right field play costs you a little bit in another one of those, man. I don't know where your thoughts lie, but that's a concern for me.
Have you ever seen a baseball team that carries 3 third basemen?
No.
No, you're watching it right now.
I know.
It doesn't work. Like and my thing is figure out who is the 2 that could stay.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's Rios and Wisdom. After that, I could care less what happens to Nick Madrigal at this point. It goes back to what we were talking about yesterday. What do we owe Madrigal? What do we owe Hosmer? And I know Hosmer had a great game, but what do we owe Hosmer? What do we owe Mastroboni?
Right.
What do we owe some of these guys? It's just so Cub to me because it starts to it is. Yeah, we're trying to compete, but the best roster is not here right now. Even regardless without Seiya Suzuki, the best roster is not here. I mean, it's really two of your best are stuck in AAA, and one of them is on the. So I don't know if that changes, after a couple stretches of games here, but I think the most interesting stretch of baseball is going to come in these next 2 weeks because you're going to get Seiya back, and then you're going to start to get larger sample sizes of some of these guys we're talking about. And then the question becomes, how quick do you pull the trigger and move on? If Christopher Morel is still doing Christopher Morel things and Matt Mervis is still doing Matt Mervis things, how much pressure does that put on the front office to go, yeah, we should try to compete? Or is this just get through this year again? Hopefully we're closer to 500 this year. That's not the case because they told you they want to compete. Everything in the offseason said, we're ready to go. We think our pitching's good. We like the way our bullpen's made out. We think we're going to play great defense and have run prevention. And we're going to hit just enough to win baseball games. Well, what happens when you don't hit just enough to win baseball games? Or you have to play a guy like Trey Mancini who's uncomfortable in right field. When does the bull stop? And that's my question over the next 2 weeks. What is the tipping point? When do you look up and go, man, the division's out of hand. We might as well just keep rolling with Hosmer. Or, man, we're losing games left and right here. We got to right this ship before it gets away from us. And that is the $1 million question, because there'll be some roster moves, and there'll be some DFAs, and there'll be some guys that you look up and you go, man, remember that guy? Yeah, he's not here anymore. They're carrying 3 catchers and 3
and 2 real outfielders.
Yeah.
It's
not successful.
No.
I'm sorry. And to me, that's not fully David Ross's fault. That's on the back of Jed. That's his fault.
Yeah. Agreed totally. And honestly, just to kind of quickly add to that too, right? It'd be one thing if Rios and Madrigal and Wisdom have all contributed offensively to this point, right? Madrigal hasn't done much. Rios hasn't really had too much opportunity quite yet, but still hasn't done much. Wisdom's really the only one that's done anything offensively with the bat. And then you can make the flip side argument and say, yeah, maybe you can sacrifice a little more of Mancini in right if the offense is there. And yeah, he's come through in moments, but overall, he's not lighting the world on fire. He's not just out there taking up a warm body type thing. You know what I mean? And is carrying Luis Torrens really that much worth it? Yeah, I get it. You want to have a little bit of pop at the catching position in some form or fashion, but is it worth, sacrificing an entire position on your roster? I don't know. So I agree with you there, man. And just like Bernie said a little earlier here in the comments, Suzuki is missed. And a quick little update on him from Jordan Bastian. He says, from the Cubs, Seiya Suzuki has 2 at-bats in a simulated game in Arizona. That's cool. On Monday, also played 4 innings on defense. These are his first at-bats since the injury. So, again, it's another positive sign that Seiya is going to be back soon, because the more and more games roll on, the more and more you can clearly tell they miss him. But, Juice, let's talk a little happy something, because this game wasn't all for naught. They did score 6 runs. As our friend of the program and on Tap Sports, that colleague here, Johnny, says in the comments, we could use a positive note. Dansby Swanson is never not on base. Another 3-hit game for Dansby Swanson in the start to his Cubs tenure. He was also matched with 3 hits tonight, again, by Eric Hosmer, which is the weirdest thing for us to say. He also had 2 ribbies. This is like maybe the best game I can remember in recent memory that Eric Hosmer's had as a big leaguer. I don't know. Nonetheless, still a great game from Swanson. He's 3 for 5 on the night with 2 runs scored. That average is still sitting pretty at a 588 clip juice. But again, we talk about the hits coming. They got it done a little bit tonight. Nico had a hit. Hap had a hit. Belly had the 3-run bomb. Mancini had a hit. Wisdom had a hit, albeit coming late in the game. Barnhart was 1 for 3. So the offense was a little better. Again, you got 6 runs because everybody 1 through 9 contributed in some form or fashion, just as we were talking about yesterday. This wasn't the 1 through 3 show with 4 through 9 going 0 for the entire game. At least the bottom of the order showed up tonight, and they showed. If the bottom of the order gives you okay production, they can score 4 and 5 wins a game or get runs a game because your top 3 is probably going to be that good. But they need to do it consistently, and I think that's really the thing here that is going on. But again, back to the positive. Swanson, 3 more hits. We settled, Juice. Remember, as we've been told, the Cubs settled on Dansby Swanson.
Yeah, they won all of it already so far. Remember, I said we did a live from Murphy's. I said the greatest free agent signing. It was Dansby Swanson, Babe Ruth. That's where we're at so far. And ever since I said that, he's become a real life Babe Ruth. So I will take all the credit for that. It is all my doing. It has nothing to do with Dansby and everything to do with because I work in 2 ways, Ronald, as you know. I either work I call you out and then they have 3 hit games, or I dub you the greatest thing ever and then you just stay the greatest thing ever. So I keep telling them that like Matt Mervis and Christopher Morel are great players and they need to be here. So when they do come up, I'm sure they'll hit like 640 a piece. So yeah, until then, we'll just keep twiddling our thumbs and losing games here. But hopefully the Cubs can, get one tomorrow. And I don't know. This one's so frustrating, man. It's hard to be positive when you watch a game that should have been won against a team that is literally trying to lose. The Reds are not trying to win the division here.
Agreed. And yeah, that's definitely what makes things frustrating. I know fellow co-host of ours, Nick Hudson, shared quite a few times on Twitter this evening that he is over the Drew Smiley in the rotation experiment so far. Obviously, It's 1 game, but this is a team with competent arms. We've seen it. We know what the depth looks like. Does Drew Smiley found himself out of a role here in this starting rotation in the near future? Is he truly the one that's maybe out of a job when a guy like Kyle Hendricks finally gets healthy? There's a lot of what ifs. Again, 1 game, 1 start, but 4 2/3, 9 hits, 7 runs, 6 of which are earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and the home run given up. Not a great debut in 2023 for one Drew Smiley, but on a pitching note, as we've already kind of alluded to, Keegan Thompson was great. 3 1/3, just the 1 hit given up, no walks, no runs, and 3 Ks for Keegan out of the bullpen. Once again, showing off just how good and how much of a weapon he is out of the pen. Between him and Alzolay, I wish those guys could pitch every day. I wish they had bionic arms and we could just throw them out there for 4 innings as a piggyback guy every single time. Because, they've been, out of the pen so far. You can make the argument they're probably the most known commodities right now, outside of maybe a guy like Brandon Hughes once he's healthy. But man, oh man, that was.
Really, Ron,
out of Keegan.
They're going to have 3 of those. They're going to have him. They're going to have Keegan. They're going to have Javier Assad is another guy that you can look at, and they're going to have Edward Alzolay. They got 3 of those guys. That's what kind of upsets me so much about tonight's game. When you have three of those guys like that, you can afford 1 out. You could find 1 out in that bullpen.
Especially when Keegan comes in for that 3rd of an inning and gets 1 pitch to turn into an out anyway. Like, who's to say he doesn't do that in 3 pitches with 2 outs? You know what I mean? Certainly right there with you, buddy. But like you said, man, this was a frustrating one. And I'm sure that I'm going to mull this one over. I'm sure I'm going to have something on it in the morning, sharing some thoughts on this game just because it was so frustrating. But Thankfully, it's early, but the Cubs are 1-3 now after tonight. Again, agree with you, Juice. They probably should have a reciprocal of that record and be 3-1. Two games that we've already chalked up here as should have wins for the Cubs here, and it's bad when you have more should have wins than actual wins. And as Scott says here, if we have any more of these should have wins, you start to ask, can they get to 10 wins before May 1st? And I don't know if they can if they keep having more games like tonight. Juice, before we go ahead and preview tomorrow's game 2 of this 3-game set in Cincinnati, I do want to bring up something that our great commenters and listeners have brought to our attention, or really just brought into light again. I know we've all seen it all over Twitter today. A little comedic relief that I think we all desperately need after this loss. Can we talk about the fact that the Brewers performed a flyover in a closed stadium?
Yeah, didn't you know that was the best way to do it? I mean, at Jerry World, I heard that they do it at Jerry World every year, and up in the domes in Minnesota. I heard that's another. That I used to hear that the flyover over Ford Field was fantastic. What an idiotic franchise! But it doesn't surprise you.
What a fucking bunch of dumb idiots! Like, the dumbest fucking possible thing you could have done. And I feel bad because I'm 99% certain that was the same B-1 bomber we got to appreciate on Cubs opening day down here at Wrigley. And, as much as I hate that godforsaken city, I wish the people of Milwaukee could have enjoyed a beautiful flyover, but instead their poverty, second-class, stupid-ass franchise decides to keep the roof closed and schedule a fucking flyover. Like, what's next? You're gonna sell tickets at Subway instead of footlongs? Oh wait, they already do that. Never mind. So just goes to show the Brewers are a bunch of fucking dumb idiots. Nonetheless, a little bit of comedic relief for us Cubs fans, because Lord knows we need it, even though they absolutely shit pumped the New York Mets today. Freddie Peralta got me some good fantasy points. I guess that's the one silver line.
See, there you go.
That's about the only thing, though. I turned into MLB TV today, and I saw that score, and I literally wanted to throw up because I was like, "Fuck this team, man! Fuck that! Fuck this piss poor, like, secondhand, like, you think the Rays are like we're poor and we find ways to win games? The Brewers are the hand-me-down version of the fucking Tampa Bay Rays. They take literally the Rays scraps. Matt Brousseau was a Rays scrap. Willie Adames, he's played incredibly well in Milwaukee, don't get me wrong, but he was a guy that the Rays were like, we have nowhere for him because Wander Franco's coming up. Like, this team literally feasts off the lowest budgeted teams in the major leagues, Juice, and yet they still find ways to fucking win, and there's nothing that numbs my brain more. Like, I don't know what it is about the state of Wisconsin, but if I can metaphorically spit all over it in disgust, I would. Because between them and the fucking Green Bay Packers, I have experienced enough just anger and frustration and high blood pressure in my lifetime, Juice, that I don't need anymore. And just we lost 2 out of 3 to a team that can't even get a fucking flyover right. It's straight out of it's literally straight out of something that you would see in a TV show. I'm not going to name names because I don't know if we can get copyrighted or not for it. But, Juice, it's fucking embarrassing. That's how I feel right now. And I feel better now that I got that out. I'm sure Brian's going to be flipping that one tomorrow.
You needed it.
I did. I needed it. I needed it desperately, and then when I don't have a voice tomorrow, I'll know why. But that's okay. Nonetheless, Juice, let's put this one in the rearview mirror because God knows I think we both need it at this point. I'm ready.
I'm done with this game. Don't mention it to me ever again.
Agreed. I'm right there with you, brother. The Cubs are back in action tomorrow night, Tuesday, April 4th, against the Cincinnati Reds at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio. It is a 5:40 local time in the Chicagoland area start once again. Juice, for yourself, that's a 6:40 start. It is the I guess awaited debut. It doesn't do it justice. The awaited debut of Hayden Wesneski here in 2023. He's on the bump for the Cubbies and on the bump for the Reds. A guy we had to do a little bit of research on before the show, admittedly. But Luis Cessa will take the bump tomorrow, the right-hander. He's 30 years old. He's been around the major leagues since 2016. He bounced between the minors and majors from 16 to 18 in his time with the New York Yankees. Halfway through the season in 2021, he made his way over to the Reds. 2021, by far, still his best career year, was predominantly a reliever. And then last year, he made some time between starter and reliever. Looks like he's the 5, at least to begin the year for the Reds this season. So, Juice, let's talk about it here. What are we expecting from tomorrow's game? What do you need the Cubbies to do to make you not be sour juice once again on Tuesday night?
Do the same thing they did tonight, but pitch. Right?
Fair.
I mean, it would have been great. And you said it, Ron. Like they hit the 3-run homer in the first, and I actually thought we were going to get on one of these where me and you talk about a double-digit Cubs scoring run here. You know, a 10-1 or a 10-2 win.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't happen. So I hope it's tomorrow. Have the same, plate approach. But yeah, let's pitch this time. And that's been like this all year, right? It seems like they pitch, they don't hit. They hit, they don't pitch. So like let's find the level here where both are contributing in some way.
Yeah, water finds its level, and I pray to God the Cubs do the same on Tuesday night, Juice. I'm right there with you. Completely agree. Just a quick note here before I give my 2 cents. Wisdom's x-rays came back negative. That's good news. Just a bump and a bruise. Again, maybe you should have just taken them out, David. But that's neither here nor there. I agree with you, man. They got to pitch tomorrow. And Scott's predicting a 15K, 7 2/3 performance from Hayden Wesneski tomorrow with his hashtag book it. Scott, I'll go on the record right now. If Wesneski comes out and shit pumps for 7 2/3 innings and K's over 10 guys in 7 2/3, if he goes longer than 6 1/3 and K's more than 10, you have to hit both. This is a parlay here. It's not one or the other. I will come up with something hysterical. Actually, I'll let the rest of the Cubs on Tap guys come up with something. That has to happen. Doesn't need to be right now, Juice. Just mull that over as you sleep tonight in Fort Wayne. It'll give you something to count your sheep.
If I can't fall asleep.
Yeah, if you can fall asleep. And if you can't, you could spend all night figuring out what hooligan shit you want me to do. I just don't want to shave the beard. Please don't make me do that. But that's all I ask.
That's you don't remember in like Anchorman, no touching of the hair or face. That's the rule.
No touching of the hair, please. But we'll find some fun and funny content to do. Again, for those that are maybe newer to the show, I've already worn a mankini on the show. Anything's free game at this point. That's just kind of how we do it here, Cubs on Tap. We like to have fun. But I'm right there with you, Juice. I'm hoping for a really strong performance from Hayden Wesneski tomorrow. I think I would be happy with 5 1/3, 5 2/3, maybe 6 from him. Couple of Ks. Just keep it under 3 runs. I think this Cubs team in Cincinnati can score above 3 runs. Obviously, we saw it tonight. I think they can repeat that effort tomorrow. It's going to be hotter than shit tomorrow in Cincinnati. I think it's supposed to be a high of 80 degrees. JD and Boo were talking about it on the broadcast. 82, I believe, for April 5th April 4th, pardon me, is a Cincinnati record for temperature. So, like, they could break the record tomorrow. It's going to be hot in Cincy. So, ball go far when it gets warm outside. So, if that's the case, maybe a little bit of Ian Cincinnati tomorrow. I'd like to see him hit a bomb. Maybe we get to see a guy like Belly or maybe Mancini wraps this one around the foul pole this time and it counts as a homer, something like that. But we want to see the power come out tomorrow to support Hayden Wesneski. And it should be a good win for myself and Mr. Tyler Edmonds to discuss. Quick note for those that will be tuning in with us tomorrow. We will run a little later, so it probably won't happen right after the show, but it'll happen before the evening is over. And Mr. Crawford says shots. So that's inspiration, I think. And I already know where you guys would go with that. As our friend over in the UK would say too, our friend Cub Rachel. Apparently she loves Malort, so I'm sure. I'm sure if we gave her and you guys any kind of recommendation of what I'm taking shots of, it'd probably be that, which that makes my toes curl in disgust and fear. But nonetheless, we'll figure that out. But that's only if Hayden goes more than 6 and K's more than 10. So it's a hell of a parlay, but we'll take the bets and we'll make them work. Juice, we picked our Fly the W players already for the series. Obviously, we'll check in on those come Wednesday. as we mentioned, 3-game series. We will be back on Wednesday as well with an early show. And then pretty much no shows the rest of the week. Thursday, off day. Friday, a couple of us are out of town and traveling. So likely not a Friday show, barring some kind of last minute change. And then we'll be back with you on Sunday. I don't know who's all back with you on Sunday, but we'll be back with you on Sunday in some form or fashion. It is Easter Sunday, but we'll probably come to you guys live in the evening hours to discuss the weekend that was as the Cubs welcome the Rangers to beautiful Wrigley Field. But Juice, as always, my friend, it is a pleasure. Cubs lose this one 7-6 on Monday night. They're back on Tuesday in Cincinnati once again with Wesneski on the bump. Hopefully they can right the ship, get a dub, and look toward Wednesday going for their first series win of the season. From Ron Luce and Juice, thank you for joining us. To everybody that watched along in the comments, everybody that watched along on Twitter, if you want to jump in the comments to join us, be sure to check us out over on Facebook and YouTube. That's at the On Tap Sportsnet page on both of those platforms. As you know, Cubs on Tap, we are one of 2 official Cubs podcasts of the On Tap Sports Network. Our friends Dingers are live right now as well. Be sure to check them out. They're at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram, and be sure to check out the whole game. Kevin, Jeff, Jake, and Mitch. I am at Loose on Tap on Twitter. Juice is at Juice on Tap on Twitter. Follow all the guys at Joey Knows Nothing, at Teddy Freddy 270, at Nick_on Tap, at Cubbies on Tap on Twitter and Instagram. And you know the drill, Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. We got it all for you here at On Tap Sportsnet. And yes, I don't know if you guys saw today, but the Sox got absolutely shit pumped in their home opener. Tell a friend, be a friend. Your friends that are Sox fans can cry with our friends that are Sox fans over at Sox on Tap. The On Tap Sports Network, ontapsportsnet.com, at On Tap Sportsnet. Check us out. What is on tap in Chicago sports? What do you say, Juice? This game sucked. Hopefully a win tomorrow. Let's get out of here the only way we know how. Here it comes on tap.
Fuck the Cardinals.
And fuck the Reds. And let's go Cubbies.